Many adults today in both our congregations and societies struggle to understand and appreciate the gifts and visions of the younger generation. Today's show will be a spotlight of a young man who is an event producer who will share how he is contributing to the good of both the church and the society. Please stay tuned. Welcome to Perspectives on Faith and Culture. I am Dr. Karen Crozier. Today I'm joined by Dennis Horn, who is the event producer. Welcome to the show, Dennis.
Thank you, Dr. Crozier.
You are welcome. So please share about your background and experience in becoming an event producer at such a young age.
Well, I first I enjoy going to events, and I think that's kind of where the idea comes from. My background is in marketing, and I did some work in corporate America for a while, and decided that I wanted to do something that I enjoyed a little more. So event production just kind of happened. I made some friends who were doing it and started to do it on my own.
What is an event producer for those of us who may not know?
Well, some may call them promoters or event coordinators. Those types of titles are common. For me, I don't like those terms. It's a production, and a lot goes into it. So in any given event, there's so many things that are being done in the background to make sure it's successful and it's a quality event. Everything from marketing to booking talent and things of that nature.
So on April 18th, you had the Fresno Jazz and Soul Festival as one of your major events.
Yes.
Share about the vision that helped to make that happen.
When coming up with the idea and really exploring how we could bring a jazz festival to Fresno, I kind of just took examples from festivals that I've gone to outside of the Fresno area that really embraced not just standard jazz, but R&B, soul music, funk, and I really wanted to bring that element of culture to Fresno.
And what do you think will be the receptivity as far as, is Fresno really ready? Was Fresno ready for something like that?
Well, we proved that we were ready for it. People came out, they had a great time. Lots of vendors and different artists participated. It was a great time. We're looking forward to doing it year after year and just providing a quality entertainment that you normally have to travel for.
Yeah, share more about the finances in that process, as well as the people resources that are needed to pull off something of that magnitude.
It's certainly a large production. Even for a city like Fresno, where we don't have a huge contingent that's going to come out for an event like that, getting sponsors is vital to the success of an event like that. And we're able to practically fund the entire thing sponsored with sponsors. I won't throw the exact number out there of what it costs to produce that event, but it was well worth it. It was well worth it.
So you have to keep that a secret.
Well, yeah.
I'm reminded of a biblical passage of in Timothy when Paul is instructing him to not be discouraged by his youth, his age, and to still be confident in who he is in caring for and leading the people. Share about your experience of how you have grown in your confidence to work with people who are much older than you and who might look down upon you because thinking you don't have enough experience yet to do things of this magnitude.
Yeah, that's a verse that I've always it's kind of resonated with me for a while. Not only am I young, I look younger than what I actually am. So it's a constant battle fighting, with folks who think that I may not be qualified or seasoned enough to pull off something like that. But I understand how favor works, and I think that just the hard work and the product itself will speak for itself. So if people don't want to be involved initially, they will down the road, and I know that that's going to happen.
Wow, so it seems like you have a sense of patience and endurance as a young person. Would that be true?
I would agree with that. You know, I'm not. It's important to me that anything that I'm involved in is quality, and you'll hear me say that a lot. And that does not occur by just throwing together things last minute or taking just whatever you can get. You know, I'm a believer that quality speaks louder than quantity. So that's patience is necessary for that.
Right. So where did that value come from to really take seriously quality over than just the bling that many people get caught up in, right?
Well, I think my parents, they're from the Midwest, so they have some old-fashioned values. They were a little older when I was born, and I'm the oldest, so I definitely adopted a lot of their values, even without them having to necessarily instill them like intentionally. I grew up on the music that was actually with a message, and I've always sought after that type of entertainment and that type of content. So I think getting it from home, getting it from the music or the media that I like to listen to, or to take part in. I think that's kind of where that comes from.
So you had your one major event, then you have a monthly event called the Vibe.
Right. Vibe Soul Lounge.
Yes, the Vibe Soul Lounge, which meets once a month. So share more about that.
Right, so that's an event that we hold at Fulton 55 every second Sunday evening. We intended to provide a live music experience that you really can't get in Fresno on a regular basis. We have concerts here and there, but the people have wanted something like this. Again, you have to travel for this kind of entertainment typically. So having an event where you can come out and get world-class musical talent every month is, it's important, and the people love it, and it feeds me as much as it feeds the people that come out.
Share more about the demographics of the people who are participating as the artists, as well as people who are enjoying it as an event.
That's the beautiful thing about most of the events that I'm involved in. The demographics will range in terms of age, 25 to 55, even older. The beautiful thing about it is that music is something that unites people, old and young. So I think that you see a lot of male and female. Typically, music events are mostly attended by female, but they drag their husbands or the boyfriends out, and we all just have a great time.
And so it's a broad demographic.
Certainly.
Where do you see that type of event, monthly event, going? What do you hope to eventually accomplish, or are you already accomplishing what you set out to do with that event?
We're certainly experiencing success, and I think, to me, it's important to solidify a brand where it's recognized not only within your market but outside, and we are doing that. With the help of social media and just different tools online, we're able to reach people all across the country and the world. With what we're doing, to where we get comments and we get notes saying, "Hey, I'm in New York, but I wish I was at your event. I'm in this part of the country, but this event looks really cool."
And so how can people become a part of it as a participant or just showing up? Does it cost to get in?
Well, of course. To me, quality you do get what you pay for. I would love to be able to, provide things for free and, everyone still get taken care of on the back end. But it's just $10 for that event. And if you come at the door, it's only $12. So we don't make it out of the reach of anyone who wants to come out and partake in that type of, environment.
And do you pre-select the performers?
Absolutely, absolutely. So my music director is a well-known musician, Ray Moore. He's very selective, and he's a complete professional. And I work with him to, find local artists and not so local artists that we can spotlight every month.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know Ray. He and I used to go to church together at Westside Church of God.
He's a great guy. He's a great
yes. Guy. And share more about how faith informs who you are as an event producer.
I'm a Christian, and I'm not afraid to let that be known. And I believe and I know that my walk and what I do speaks as loud as my words. So whatever I do, I always acknowledge Christ, and I always acknowledge that God is driving whatever it is that I'm involved in. So I know that that's something that can be seen from the outside as well, and it really just keeps me to a higher standard, you know, where you might go to events where it's kind of vulgar, the language is coarse. We try not to do that. You know, we try to represent Christ as best as we can whenever.
Yeah, and I think that's key, because oftentimes in events that you produce and in venues, it is a different type of cultural climate,
Right.
as far as, and so you have been able to be free in expressing who you are. And what about the younger generation in their teens? Are they welcome, and how would they receive it? Those who find themselves not necessarily in school, who've been in juvenile, out of juvenile, what would you think? Do you attract that type of crowd?
Well, this event is typically open to 21 and over crowd,
Okay.
because it is held in a place where they, you know, do serve alcohol. However, I think we do have a following of people who are younger than that age, who recognize that there are alternatives to what they hear on the radio, you know, all of the vulgarity and the promiscuity that they hear about. You know, there are alternative forms of entertainment and media. So I know there is a following there. And, you know, I like to reach out to young people and let them know, like, there's not just one route. You can go this way, still be who you are, still have a good time, but not compromise any moralistic or morals or values.
Yeah, I think that is wonderful. Are you mentoring or apprenticing some of the young people?
I have. I'm not currently. I do have two younger siblings that are 18, and a sister who's 22. And my sister who's 22 is actually involved in mentoring as well. I've tutored in the past. I've, you know, voluntarily taken, you know, young people under my wing, so to speak. Not that I feel that I'm perfect or the best example out there, but I can at least, you know, steer someone to the right direction.
Great. And I hear you are a member of a local church called Second Baptist.
No, ma'am.
Fellowship.
No,
I got the wrong church out
one
there.
of the older churches.
Yes,
That's
one of-
probably what it. Yes,
Yes.
Fellowship. I've been a member there since maybe over 15 years now. Probably going on 20. We're celebrating the church's 70th anniversary this year. You know, very involved. My parents are prominent, you know, in terms of the offices that they hold at the church. So it's definitely a part of me, and I love my church.
Great. When we come back from the break, I want to hear more about how has your church received you as an event producer, and how have you experienced their support. So we will revisit that after the break. We'll see you shortly.
KNXT TV is proud to say thank you to all its viewers who have given their support for over 25 years. And only through your support is KNXT able to provide spiritual and informative programming. Please remember KNXT in your long-term support through wills, bequests, trust, and plan giving. Your gift is important to the future of Catholic television. Help preserve the strength of KNXT's message based on the teachings of Christ. Keep KNXT in your future plans.
Welcome back to Perspectives on Faith and Culture. And today I'm joined by my guest, Mr. Dennis Horn, event producer. And before the break, we were talking about your role in the church and how faith informs you, and how that has been a big part of who you are, especially at Fellowship Baptist Church. Share more about how you feel the church played a significant role in receiving you as this event producer, and the various ways that you allowed to express yourself as a young man in that congregation.
I think part of where this whole event producer thing comes from is from church. You know, I didn't mention it earlier, but you know, I've always been involved in organizing things at church. So people know me as an organizer, as I guess, an administrator of sorts. You know, they know that I'm going to be putting things together, whether it's like a ministry fair at church or things like that. So they know that I'm involved in that. And, you know, I think it's no secret of my, you know, affinity for music. So they know, to look for those types of things now. And a lot of my, the members of the church that I am a member of as well, they come out and they support, and they enjoy that type of alternative entertainment as well, because they know when they come out, it's going to be clean, it's going to be quality and respectable.
And when we talk about, that's great, the way that the church has been able to be an incubator for you to blossom, to flourish, because that's a rarity. So that is very commendable, admirable for fellowship in the ways that you have been groomed in that process and your love for your church. Share more about the various negative images and racial injustice and violence that's taking place in our country, in our city, especially around policing. How do you see yourself as an event producer addressing those various issues as impacting us?
Sure. It's no secret. The current social climate is very, it's an interesting monster right now. And I think when we do provide entertainment that is positive and uplifting, that is a way to combat, one, the negative images of our people, two, the likelihood that someone will be involved in, the counteractive activity. We want to be at a place where we are thought of highly and we're respected. Not that we have to prove ourselves to people, but to give them no excuse, to disrespect us and things like that. And I think when we do partake in, positive, uplifting entertainment, and our entire lifestyles reflect a life of just morals, values, and things like that, that in itself does help to combat those issues that we're dealing with now.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think your message could be to other congregations and congregational leaders in light of the experience you had in your own home church? What type of, I don't want to say instruction, but what type of counsel from your perspective as a young man can other congregational leaders take heed of in order to nurture and appreciate and value the gifts that have come from you in their young people?
I think it's important just to engage young people in church. I think when churches can be very cliquish at times, whether it's the old versus the new, or the newer members versus the seasoned members who have been involved in things for a long time. I think it's important to embrace everyone, but especially the youth. Eventually, the people that are in office are not going to be there, and we have to groom the upcoming generation. So, although it can be intimidating, because I think the young people can be intimidating to deal with at times. We have to have someone to reach out, and I think if it doesn't come from the church, where can it come from?
So you're saying that we need to be there as the leaders and to be open to what you all have to, and to be intentional about that.
Certainly, leaders are not just leading those who can vote on church measures or what have you. They're leading the entire congregation, and that's everyone from an infant to the elderly, So I think it's important not to skip any demographic when you're thinking about which way to lead a church.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that comment. We cannot exclude any demographic, voting or non-voting, right?
Right.
And how do we value all of God's people,
Absolutely.
all of the people who show up in our doors in that process? Share more about, in light of the racial injustice and violence that's going on, and the young people who have taken a strong stance. I mean, it was the young people who were able to bring the Michael Brown's shooting to bear to the national conscience. What's your perspective of that as a young man, and how do you see yourself positioned in that movement?
I think it's easy to get involved in activism now. With what's available at our fingertips with social media and Facebook, Twitter, all of these tools, we have a platform now that maybe 10 years ago we didn't have as young people, where it was easy to overlook what the needs and the concerns of the young demographic were at that time. Now it's in front and center. Every newscast you see, it features something from, you know, a quote from the internet or something like that. So we have a platform now to where, you know, it puts us front and center and it makes us more visible. So it's easy to get involved. My place in all of that, I won't say I am completely enthralled in the or involved in the activism. However, you know, whatever I can do to share online, or, you know, things that I may have seen online, because news spreads fast now, you know, whatever I can do, I try to.
Yeah, one of the things I have found refreshing in this conversation with you as being a guest on my show is that you know how to have a conversation. And many young people, because you have access to social media, many of them lose their people skills and their face-to-face skills.
Right.
So how do you, since you have been able to nurture that part of who you are in light of the social media blitz that exists?
I think, again, my roots, you know, growing up in an old-fashioned type of home, I think that's probably where that began to develop. I think it's important. You can't lose like traditional communication skills, although there's texting and social media, because when you get out in the workforce, or you get in some, you know, serious, you know, or like adult situations, you have to be able to converse on a level that is gonna make people respect you as just as an individual. So it's important, and so much gets lost in translation online and in text messages and things like that. So it's important for us to really be personal.
Mm-hmm. And as an event producer, please feel free to share one of your greatest joys that has occurred in your experience.
I would say that the festival, that has been my greatest moment so far. And, you know, not in terms of receiving accolades, but just being able to bring out an artist that I highly respect in Dwele, and to unite the community in the name of music. I love that. I love being able to create the atmosphere and seeing people have the time of their lives.
And share more about this uniting the community, because we come from so many different backgrounds and walks of life, and an event, in my experience, is just that. We come and then we leave, right? We experience it, but it seems like, as I hear you see an event on a much more deeper and broader way, and I'm being challenged to rethink my view of the power of an event. So am I hearing correctly?
I do see it more than just a couple of hours that you spend with some strangers. You know, I think, one, branding is important. So I think when you're constantly communicating to people that this is the type of event, this is what we're going to accomplish here. People want to be involved in something that's ongoing. So you can't just, you know, do a fly-by-night type of thing. I think when you're at an event, it's important, you know, that the people there feel connected, because obviously they came together for a common interest. So why not connect? I mean, I'm a big proponent of networking. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, and I think it's important, you know, to find out people's stories, people's background. You know, I mean, we're all a part of the same family when you really break it down.
Right. So how do you facilitate that at your events? I have never been to one of your events, but I'm
I gotta get you out.
I gotta get me there. I'm sold. So how do you facilitate that deeper, intimate connections?
I always make sure I work the room, and whoever's involved in the event is speaking with people. It doesn't matter if I don't know you or not. You came out to support something that I'm doing, and that's important to me. Support is everything. Genuine support is everything. So if you thought enough of my event to come out to partake, you know, I owe you, you know, my respect. So it's important to just really connect with people on a personal level.
And was that your own personal internal drive, or did you see that modeled from other event producers?
You know, I can't say that I necessarily adopted that from someone else. I think it's just my nature. You know, my nature, I start up conversations with people I don't know. You know, I befriend people that maybe someone else would not. And I think that it's just important. You know, we so easily generalize people based on their outward appearance when we have no idea who they are until we really get to know them.
So you have at this opportunity, what would you like to say specifically to the younger generation who may be watching?
I would just say, don't give up. It's very cliche. However, we're going to be told no a lot, especially with age working against you. Don't give up. Make as many connections as you can. Somebody's going to believe in you. And I mean, again, it's fundamental. Your faith should drive what you're doing. So know that the favors of God is with you, and whatever doors that are going to be open, you're going to be able to walk through them when the time is right.
Yes, this is the second time, at least the second time I heard you use the favor. I know how to work the favor. What is that? What are you saying when you say that?
When you're living according to God's purpose for your life, I feel that He will allow you to traverse situations that you may not feel you can do on your own. There have been several, countless times when I was involved in something and I was like, how am I going to get through this or get out of this? And it made no sense how I got out of it or how it worked out for me and for what I was doing. And that's nothing but favor.
And 30 seconds or less, please share, what do you hope the adult audience, viewing audience, will take away from this time?
Well, I think you can look at me as an example. I'm a young person who is not, I'm not out there wild and reckless. We're not all that way. And you can't assume that based on how a person looks or their age. And I think it's important to really be willing to connect with people, especially young people.
Well, Dennis, thank you for being on the show. It has
Thank you.
been an honor and a privilege to
Likewise.
have you here. And you got me sold. I will be at
Please
one
come.
of your events.
Please come.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you for watching Perspectives on Faith and Culture. We will see you next time. Take care and God bless.